Terror group the Islamic State has claimed the responsibility of the twin blasts in Iran that killed at least 84 people. The explosions hit the procession marking the 4th death anniversary of the Iranian general Qasem Soleimani on Wednesday. The Islamic State claimed the responsibility through a statement on Telegram. It said 2 of its members carried out the suicide bombings by activating the vests, among the crowds. The crowds had come to honor Soleimani. However, the group did not reveal which regional organization of the terror outfit carried out the attack. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi visited the grave of slain Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps General Qasem Soleimani in Kerman. Soleimani was killed in a U.S. drone strike in Baghdad 4 years ago. Raisi joined mourners at the funeral of the people killed in Wednesday's twin blasts that have been claimed by the Islamic State group. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be on his 4th crisis visit to West Asia. His week-long trip will include stopovers in Israel, the West Bank and Jordan, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia and Egypt. Blinken is also expected to visit Turkey and Greece. Meanwhile, amid increasing fears of a spillover of the Gaza war, U.S. diplomatic envoy Amos Hochstein also met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday. In other news, South Korea has claimed that North Korea fired 200 artillery shells near 2 of its border islands. South Korea said it evacuated residents in the border islands of Benyong and Yeonpyeong. No damage was reported. The South Korean Defense Military said the launches threaten peace in the region. The launches come after South Korea and U.S. troops engage in joint combat fighting drills near the border with North Korea involving heavy weapons. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his young daughter Ju toured a factory that makes transport erector launchers. The launchers are used for the country's banned intercontinental ballistic missiles. Kim called for expanded production of the missile launchers in preparation for a military showdown with South Korea and the United States. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol exercised his veto power to strike down a bill. The bill would have allowed the opposition-controlled National Assembly to order a special investigation into his wife's alleged involvement in stock manipulation of imported car distributor Deutsche Motors. The Israeli military says it raided a Hamas military compound along the central coast of the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. It destroyed a tunnel network it said stretched for hundreds of meters. The military said that one of the tunnels led to a facility that was used by Hamas to manufacture weapons, guarded by blast-proof doors and booby traps. Meanwhile, Hamas has released footage showing members of its military wing fighting Israeli vehicles and soldiers on the outskirts of the Gaza city in the north. The White House has said that ballistic missiles and missile launchers used in recent attacks on Ukraine were supplied to Russia by North Korea. Russia had launched 2 strikes using these missiles, which were supplied by Pyongyang and had a range of around 900 kilometers. John Kirby declared that Ukraine's air defenses were a top priority at the White House. This given that the country has recently been the target of numerous aircraft raids by Russia. The 4,000-person migrant caravan traveling through southern Mexico has wound up. Migration authorities repeatedly promised to provide travel permits if the caravan was split up to be processed at several migration centers. However, the caravan's leader accused authorities of abandoning some migrants on the streets. Last Saturday, 32 migrants were reportedly abducted from a commercial bus that left Monterrey for Matamoros. A tragic incident unfolded at the Perry High School in Iowa on Thursday. A 17-year-old armed with a handgun and a shotgun claimed the life of a fellow student and left 5 others injured. The suspect was found dead with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. At around 7:30 a.m. local time, chaos erupted at the Perry High School. An armed teenager went on a shooting spree, leading to a major authority response. Emergency vehicles and armed units were rushed to the site. Classes at the school had not yet started for the day. The victim, who tragically lost his life, was in 6th grade, aged 11 or 12. But the motive of the attack is still under investigation. Bangladesh's opposition held a rally ahead of Sunday's general election. The polls are expected to see Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina get re-elected to a 5th term in office after a poll boycott by the opposition. Opposition parties are facing a series of mass arrests of their leaders. Many young voters also say that they have no intention of participating in a contest that they see as lacking a genuine choice. Hasina's ruling Awami League has presided over exceptional growth due to the lucrative garment export industry of the country. But her tenure has also been marred by widespread human rights abuse. Moroccan teachers held protests in Rabat to demand fair reform in education. Strikes have disrupted the sector for the last 3 months. Morocco's public education system is often criticized for its low student achievement levels and its high dropout rates. Overcrowded classrooms and ongoing privatization are other major concerns. Guatemalan President-elect Bernardo Arevalo met with the president of neighboring Honduras. They promised to work together to strengthen the democracy when he assumes office in just more than a week. Arevalo pulled off an upset in the August elections on an anti-corruption bid. Since then, he's in a tug-of-war with authorities in the Central American country. Authorities have dubbed his victory as an attempted coup. At least 26 people sustained minor injuries in a subway derailment in New York City. The fire department said that a passenger train departing the 96th Street station struck a work train carrying transit workers, and this caused it to derail. Emergency personnel shut off the power lines and escorted passengers back to the 96th Street station. The accident disrupted subway services throughout the city. At least 3 people were killed and 28 injured after commuter trains collided in Indonesia. Rescuers in Indonesia attempted to extricate 2 people who were trapped between railway cars in West Java province. Rescuers declined to say if the 2 strapped persons were still alive. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has said that Australia's signing of a statement condemning attacks on ships in the Red Sea sends a clear message. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis have been attacking vessels in the busy shipping lane for months now, targeting ships that they say have Israeli links. Australia this week joined 11 other countries, including the United States, issuing a joint statement calling for an immediate end to the attacks. Albanese said the attacks pose a threat to global trade. The death toll from a devastating earthquake in central Japan rose to 92 on Friday, with the number of missing jumping to 242. The hope for finding additional survivors fades as more than 72 hours lapse after the massive earthquake. Hundreds of flood warnings are in place in the United Kingdom. Parts of Britain battered by Storm Henk have been warned to brace themselves for yet more downpour. Now, this could trigger another phase of flooding, travel disruption and power cuts. Several residents had to be evacuated from houseboats and caravans on the River Nain near Northampton because of rising waters. 8 flood warnings and 32 flood alerts were in force in Wales, as well as a severe flood warning indicating a danger to life. A light rail train developed by the China Railway Rolling Stock Corporation for the capital of Mexico was put into commercial operation this week. It is the first time a made-in-China light train serves Mexico City's public transportation system. The articulated light rail train can be applied to complex lines with a minimum turning radius of 25 meters. The train is equipped with an automatic coupler and can be automatically organized according to the passenger flow density. The year 2024 is set to be a busy year in space, kicking off with the first commercial robotic launch to the moon's surface on 8th of January. Later this year, NASA is also expected to complete the first crewed lunar mission in over half a century. Sierra Space's Dream Chaser is a spiritual successor of the now retired Space Shuttle, but 4 times smaller. The DC-100 is 30 feet long. It is expected to dock at the International Space Station this spring. Sierra Space says its spaceplane brings back the ability to return spacecraft to standard runways instead of tailor-made spaceports and launch pads. The largest natural science museum in Asia is now open. The Paleozoological Museum of China opened to the public in North China's Hebei province. The museum is themed around nature, life and humanity. Evolution is its main storyline. The museum provides a systematic presentation of paleontology and evolutionary biology. It narrates the stories of natural history and is set to convey the natural concept that humans and nature are one. An elephant calf was reunited with its mother after separating in India. The calf got separated from its herd in Annamalai Tiger Reserve in southern India. Forest officials found the wild elephant cub, aged about 4-5 months. The forest officials rescued the calf and sent out a search party to trace the herd. Using drones, the forest officials were able to spot the herd, which was 2 miles away. The calf was then released close to the herd. After, it was washed and smeared in mud to remove any human imprint. A bluefin tuna sold for around $789,000 at the annual New Year tuna auction held by Tokyo's largest fish market, local media reported. Before opening, traders at Tokyo's Toyosu market marked the recent earthquake with a moment of silence. This year's tuna bid was the fourth highest ever since records began in 1999. According to a report from Peru's government on Thursday, the Latin American country now has the greatest diversity of bird species on Earth. After identifying 19 new species in the Amazon rainforests and a total of 1,879 species, the new count puts Peru ahead of neighbors Colombia and Brazil. The announcement is yet to be verified by the South American Classification Committee. The SAC is affiliated with the International Ornithologists Union. Japan's December service activity expanded at a faster rate from the previous month thanks to strong demand and a lift in confidence, even though the overall growth rate was modest, according to the AU Jinbum Bank Business Survey. The service sector has been a bright spot for the world's third largest economy, marking 16 consecutive months of growth and helping offset some of the drag on momentum from the struggles facing manufacturers globally. The Philippine inflation slowed to its weakest in nearly 2 years in December, but full-year readings remained outside the central bank's target zone, diminishing chances of near-term rate cuts. The central bank did not waver from its stance in early December that policy settings would stay sufficiently tight, underscoring concerns about inflation despite a slowdown in the pace of price gains. The Consumer Price Index in December rose 3.9% from a year earlier, compared with 4.1% in November, the slowest since February 2022, and the third straight month that inflation has eased. That brought the 2023 average inflation rate to 6%, still way outside the central bank's 2% target. Meanwhile, the dollar was steady, heading for its strongest weekly performance since July on scaled-back expectations of steep and early interest rate cuts this year, ahead of closely watched U.S. payrolls data later in the day. U.S. private employers hired more workers than expected in December. Data showed the same on Thursday, pointing to persistent strength in the labor market that should continue to sustain the economy. That means that the Fed could keep its rates higher for longer, increasing the appeal for the greenback. Oil prices rose on Friday, influenced by the Federal Reserve meeting minutes, indicating a control over inflation, and of course, the U.S. Secretary of State Blinken's efforts to prevent the Israel-Gaza conflict from escalating. Brent crude futures increased to $77.91, and the WTI crude futures rose to $72.62. All this despite concerns over high gasoline stocks, geopolitical tensions in West Asia, and hopes for an economic recovery. All this driven by potential interest rate cuts, supported the market. Israeli military actions and Blinken's diplomatic visit added to supply worries.